Welcome back. You're tuned into Rush Hour. Well, India is emerging. Various sectors such as Telecom, Gen AI, semiconductor ecosystem. Well, Deloitte India partner and telecom sector leader spoke to ET Now about this, and he says that bad phase for telecom industry is now over. Let's go across and listen into this conversation.
Clearly, I think from a telecom perspective, I think the if I can call it, the bad phase is really over for us. I think the government has really rolled out a lot of incentives and really cleared out all the policy challenges that were there. From that perspective, we're seeing some healthy EBITDA margins coming from the operators. ARPUs have gone up to over 200 rupees now, while the operators are talking about 300 rupees as an optimal thing. But I think overall, as we see in the next 3-4 years, we'll see a spur in the ARPUs of the operators, either through a lot of bundled services that they will provide to the subscribers or a general upwards push. So I think from that perspective, telecom industry, I think we're pretty much on track, and we will see some good movement. I think we will see some good movement happening from a telecoms perspective.
I want to really understand the kind of risks that you see, because this of course is an election year, plus there are certain geopolitical crises that are panning out. There are wars, there is a bit of uncertainty as well. What do you really see as part of the risks?
I think obviously there are challenges there, and we've talked about, and the whole media has been talking about things around deepfakes, etc. I think those are challenges. Europe is coming out with an AI act, and they've already rolled out a draft bill. I think India is a little far away from that. But I think the good part is that most of the companies which are really bringing in generative AI into India are large global companies which are anyway governed by some of the stringent acts either across Europe or through US. So in a way, they will have to get governed by some of those things. So I think from that perspective, India is fairly safe.
Going back to the telecom ecosystem, we are also seeing SATCOM players. The government is just passed the telecom bill, which is now an act, and of course there is space for administrative allocation rather than an auctioning method for SATCOM players. How do you really see that space develop this year, or is it too early to sort of predict that?
I think the government's been very clear that from administrative allocation of spectrum, the government has really put it in the Telecom Act that the government has a right to allocate spectrum on an administrative basis, which I think was very essential, and they've picked it up from some of the Western countries where spectrum has been allocated on an administrative basis for SATCOM and for other services.
And now coming to the semiconductor ecosystem, India has been making waves as far as this semicon ecosystem is concerned. After the entry of Micron in India, the policy was launched in 2021, and then just last year we had Micron actually organize its groundbreaking ceremony in Gujarat. And the government of course says that it is in talks with various other companies. From a policy perspective, I want to understand, where does India stand right now? And is it safe to say that we are on the right trajectory as far as the subsidy scheme, the subsidy plan of the government is concerned to boost the semicon manufacturing ecosystem here in India?
So I think from a semiconductors perspective, we've started at the right time as we're on the trajectory to grow the manufacturing of handsets or the manufacturing of EV vehicles in India. I think it's the right time to start the fab piece in India. And we've now seen some Indian companies getting into it. We've got investments coming in from the US, we've got investments coming in from Japan. India's already signed a MOU with Japan, India's signed a MOU with EU, and India's also signed up a MOU with the US. So I think, all in all, I think the government is doing more and more, and the government's focus to really build up the semicon industry in India is obviously going to go very strong.